Hi everyone, I'm Hannah and I'm really excited to take you through this morning flow. We're going to be opening up the hips and maybe moving into our shoulders a little bit, just sort of waking us up and getting us ready for the day. So we're going to make sure that our hammock is at hip height, just below our hip bones. That's where mine is at today, maybe a little bit lower than you normally would. We're not trying to stretch out too crazily this morning. It's just kind of getting us ready, getting us all moving for our day. So we're going to start on the ground with our feet either cross-legged just behind our hammock, either into a nice easy cross-legged position or bringing your feet together into a bound angle pose. It doesn't have to be crazy. We're not pulling it all the way up. We're not trying to get into a massive stretch yet this morning. We're just gonna open everything up. So bringing our hands to the back of our hands to our knees. We're gonna shut down the eyes. And we're gonna take a deep inhale through the nose and exhale it all out through the mouth. Feeling your body against the earth. Let yourself release. Inhale through the nose and exhale it out through the mouth. Allow your shoulders to fall away from your neck. Keeping your back nice and straight, but releasing into the earth. Deep inhale through the nose. And exhaling out through the mouth. Take a few more breaths here. This is going to be a nice slow Hatha morning flow. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. And on our next inhale, you can flutter open the eyes. Inhale, arms come high up above us, reaching to the ceiling. And then we're going to cut through the fabric. So finding that space between the fabric, bring our hands to a prayer. And exhale it forward, keeping our neck in an alignment with our spine. Our spine is as straight as it can be. I'm just going to release here for this first pose. You can add a little pulse forward and back if that feels good for you. Just a little pulse so you can get a little bit further in, waking up the spine and the shoulders. Adding a little bit of movement here. Keeping our breath nice and even throughout this whole practice. We're bringing our chest to the earth with a few inhales and exhales here. And slowly we can start rocking from side to side, keeping both our sit bones on the ground. Just slow little rocks with our arms and our body, our upper body. Just little ones at first, and then we can slowly open them up a little bit wider with our breath. Inhaling to the left, exhaling to the right. Maybe make them a little bit wider, opening up our side body. Seeing what feels good for your body this morning. Maybe you're widening them all the way up, all the way to the left, and all the way to the right. Breathing here. A few more here with your own breath. Inhale to one side, exhaling to the other. And on our next inhale, let's come all the way over to the left, releasing our left hand or forearm to the ground, whatever feels good for you this morning, and sweeping our right arm all the way over, reaching to the opposite wall. Our eyes gaze towards the hand or the ceiling, And really feeling that stretch in the side body on our right side. Keeping both sit bones on the ground, just check in with yourself. If you're up here, that's fine. If you're all the way down here, that's totally fine. Whatever feels good for your body today. Taking a few deep breaths here. See if you can stretch a little bit further with that arm. Creating space in that side body. And now with our next inhale, let's come back up to the center, replace that hand in the fabric and fall forward once again. And we're going to continue with these little rocks from side to side. Probably feel that stretch with one side of your body, waking us up. And on our next inhale, we're going to come all the way over to our right side, releasing our right hand from the hammock, placing the hand or the forearm down and sweeping the left arm over, reaching towards the other side of the wall, keeping both of our sit bones down, eyes gazing towards the hand or the ceiling or straight ahead, whatever feels good for you. And breathing into this side stretch. Take a few deep inhales here. See if you can stretch a little bit further with every exhale. Creating even more space in our body. 2 more breaths here. Reaching as far as you can. And let's release back to the front, replacing that hand and exhaling forward. Little pulses forward and back. See if our chest can come a little bit further towards the earth now that we've warmed up a little tiny bit. We're going to slowly roll our back all the way back up. I'm going to release into a straddle. This is not a crazy straddle. We're not going to go into a full split or anything like that right now. Just whatever feels good for you. If it's 90 degrees, if it's less than that, that's totally fine. So here we can point or flex our feet. Just make sure that you're intentional with whichever one that you choose. Keeping our hands into the hammock. Taking a deep inhale through our nose. And we're going to exhale and falling forward. Keeping our back as flat as possible. Trying not to slump into this position. Let the hammock hold you, but don't let it make you lazy. You can add little pulses here if that feels good for you. Just really opening up our hips. It's a bit of a hard one early in the morning, but it will make you feel better later in the day, I promise. Little pulses forward and back. See if you can bring your chest to the ground. That's the aim. It's very hard in this position, but it's good to know what we're sort of working for. 2 more breaths here. Keep our gaze forward. Keep our neck in alignment. Always protecting the neck as much as we can. And on our next inhale, let's roll it all the way back up. Bring our legs together, and we're going to come onto our knees. So you can get the hammock to help you if you need to. Coming onto our knees, and we're going to sit onto our feet. So from here, you can release your hands from that initial sort of bind that we had, and we're going to come to a wrap. So we're going to bring our hands nice and wide. They're coming around the front of the hammock, cutting through the middle. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard to find the middle. And then your hands come onto the fabric. And you can slide them down so that your hands are together. You might need to move yourself a little bit forward so that your knees are underneath the rigging point. And from here, I'm going to take a deep inhale and exhale it forward. Keep your arms nice and straight. Keep your neck in alignment. And we're just gonna take a few little pulses here, It's a slight variation of the stretch that we were just doing. Inhale, roll it all back up. And this time we're going to hold on to the hammock in that wrap that we just made. And exhale, release it back. So keeping our abs engaged, keeping our chin to our chest if that feels good for you. If your neck does not have any issues, you can release it all the way back if that feels good for you. And from here, you can create a little side sway from side to side. Really getting into the lower back. Oh, that feels good this morning. Making sure our abs are engaged and we haven't just completely released into this position. We still want to make our body work. Bringing our chin to our chest, engaging our abs, engaging our biceps, pulling up and releasing forward. Take a few little side sways or forward and back, pulses, whatever feels good for you. Can you tell I love shoulder stretches? Inhale, pulling back up, and exhale, let's release one more time all the way back. Remember that we can keep our neck and with our chin to our chest if that feels good for us. Otherwise, you can release all the way back if that's where you're at today. And maybe the side sways in this position are a little bit wider this time. And just release into this position. Engaging our abs, bringing our chin to our chest, pulling up with the biceps, and coming back up to a seated. From this position, we're going to keep our hands in this sort of wrap that we've created. We're going to come up onto our knees, maybe moving our knees hip width apart, putting all of our weight into our right side, and we're going to release our left knee in front of us. Making sure our knee stays over our ankle in alignment for this entire pose. We're going to release forward into our low lunge. Maybe you need to make a few adjustments. And from here, we can roll our hands along the fabric so that we extend all the way out and bring the fabric behind us. So our arms are nice and straight, eyes gaze towards the ceiling, and we're opening up our heart space here. Keeping our abs engaged in this pose. We're going to breathe in through our nose and exhale it out and release a little bit further into this stretch. Oh yeah, this is one of my favorites. Taking a few deep breaths here. See if with every exhale you can release a little bit further. Opening up our shoulders and our hips. Really good for the morning, especially if you're going to be working at a desk all day. Taking one more deep breath here. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through the mouth. And extending our front leg forward. You can bring that foot either to a point or a flex. We can bring our hands over our head and run our hands down the fabric so that our hands are together one more time. Making sure that our hips are in alignment, you're going to pull your left hip back to meet your right. And from here, we're going to inhale and exhale, fall forward over that leg. You can point and flex that foot, coming into our half split. Keeping our back as straight as possible. Our arms are nice and straight and extended, creating space in our back and in our hamstrings. Ooh, yeah, that's a really good one for the hamstring here. Pointing and flexing if that feels good. Otherwise, you can just keep it in a point. You'll find often that one side of your body, one hamstring, is a bit tighter than the other. It's totally normal. Mine is always my left. But all the more reason to stay in our poses and stretch it out in the morning to get us ready for the day. One more breath here. Taking a deep inhale, rolling our body up. We're going to bend that front leg, come back into our low lunge. Bring our hands along the fabric, over and behind us. Inhale and exhale, release. One more time into this low lunge pose. Eyes gazing towards the ceiling or the sky if you're lucky enough to have an outdoor space. Keeping our abs engaged and our pelvis tilted down. One more breath here. Holding on to our hammock, bringing it over our head, bringing that left knee to meet the right. And we're going to extend the right leg out, making sure again that the knee stays over the ankle for this. Bringing our hands along the hammock and behind us and releasing into our low lunge on the other side. Eyes gazing up. With every exhale, see if you can fall a little bit deeper. Opening up that hip just a little bit more. Ooh, yeah. Really juicy in the hips today. 2 more breaths here so you can release a little bit further. One more inhale and exhale it out. Extending that front leg, bringing our hands over our head, rolling our hands down the fabric, bringing our hands back together. And extending that front leg, bringing that right hip back to meet the left. Extending our whole body over that leg, coming into a half split, pointing and flexing that leg. Seeing if we can keep our arms nice and straight and our back as straight as possible. The aim here is to bring our chest to our knee. We're going to do this in the best possible way. We don't want to be hunching over. We want to be extending out. Pointing and flexing if you want a little bit more. Breathing into that hamstring stretch. Can you feel the difference from your left side to your right side? I sure can. A few more breaths here. Nice work, everyone. Rolling our body up, we're going to bend the front leg. Coming back into our low lunge, bring our hands along the fabric, bring the fabric behind us, pushing into the fabric with our hands, opening up our heart space, and releasing into our low lunge. Eyes gazing up. Oh, I love this stretch. It just gets to so many parts of your body. A few more breaths here. See if you can release a little bit further with every exhale. Checking in with your knee. Is it over your ankle? One more breath. On your next inhale, let's bring the hands over our head, bringing our right knee to meet the left. And the fabric's going to come onto our back as a backpack. So if your hammock's a little bit high, this might be a little bit harder. That's why I sort of said to try and keep it a little bit lower if you need to. But you should be able to get into this one. So hammock is on our backpack. You can bring your hands here if that feels good for you. You can hold on to the hammock. We're going to try our best to make it that our body is doing the work and that we're using the hammock as a support, but not to hold our whole body. Holding on to the hammock, bringing our left leg up, flipping our back foot, we're going to come up into a low lunge. So from here you can make a few little adjustments if you need to, and then you can release into the hammock. So you are still using it as a support, not as a complete prop to hold your whole body. You're still engaging your abs and making sure that your legs and your body are doing the work. So you extend your arms out beside you and release a little bit further. This is my favorite part about aerial yoga, is that you can get a little bit further into a stretch that you wouldn't allow yourself to do in normal traditional yoga. If this hurts your armpits a little bit too much, you can bring your hands up onto the fabric and that kind of just alleviates that strain a little bit. So stretching out that back leg, really pushing into the earth and making sure again that your knee is over that ankle. Holding here for a few more breaths. See if you can release a little bit further with each exhale while still holding into your whole body. Abs engaged, pelvis tilted down, and your legs nice and strong. A few more breaths here. Hands come onto the fabric. I'm going to take a big step forward, just about a couple of feet length. We're straightening both of our legs, coming into a triangle pose, which if you're used to traditional yoga, both of our legs are nice and straight, our hips are forward, we're tilting at our hips and falling forward. This time the hammock's going to come to our elbows, keeping a nice flat back, extending all the way forward. Making sure that both of our hips are in alignment, our eyes are gazing towards the top of our foot. Few deep breaths here. See if you can allow yourself to release a little bit further while still pulling your left hip back to meet your right. Few deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. One more breath. And let's roll our torso all the way back up. I'm going to take one big step forward with our left foot meeting our right. And then we're going to take a deep step back with our left. So our left leg comes back. We're back into our high lunge, bringing our hammock back into our armpits. Just checking in to making sure that you're in alignment, your knees over your ankle, nice and strong with the back leg, pulling our hips forward and release into the hammock. Our abs are nice and engaged. And exhale. And again, remember, if this is hurting your armpits a little bit too much, you can bring your hands here and sort of push into the hammock, or you can just hold them here. Whatever feels good for you. Let yourself release a little bit further with every exhale. Tucking our pelvis in. Breathing in here. Can you get a little bit further in? For me, this is a lot further than I can get with my normal traditional yoga without the hammock support. Holding our hands onto the hammock, pulling up. We're going to take a big step forward with our back leg, bringing our feet facing forward. Our hips are in alignment, pulling that back hip forward and that forward hip back. And bringing our fabric to our armpits. And we're going to extend all the way forward. So our nice flat back, head is staring at the ground in front of us. See if you can release a little bit further, creating space in the spine, pulling that right hip back. See if you can make it so both of your feet are pulling together, so they're trying to meet each other in the center. Both of your heels are pulling together. One is, your back foot is pulling forward and your front foot is pulling back. A few more deep breaths here. One more breath. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. We're going to slowly roll ourselves back up. Take a deep step forward. And then we're going to make sure that we're underneath the rigging point so you can step back. Keeping our backpack on. Keeping our feet shoulder width apart. And we're just going to release forward into our Ragdoll. So just letting your hands and your head hang forward and sway from side to side. This is a really great release pose. We're doing so much with our legs. Sometimes it's really nice just to let your body just hang out. A few more sways here. Let it all go. See if you can release any a little bit further in. Coming back to the center, and let's roll our body up one vertebrae at a time until we come back to standing. Okay, we're going to come into a Star Watcher pose now. So coming in, bringing our feet hip width apart, coming back to a chair, releasing our body into the hammock, and then we're going to push with our legs, pushing into the hammock and releasing our body against the hammock. So it should be around our bra line or upper back for those who don't wear bras. And from here, we're going to heel toe our feet out to the side of the mat, extending our arms nice and wide. You can release so that release your head if that feels good for you, or you just keep your chin and your neck in alignment. And we're going to sway from side to side, so bending one knee at a time. This is our Star Watcher pose. So you're gazing towards the ceiling, fingers are extended, arms are extended, just letting yourself move from side to side, whatever feels good. Maybe you want to exaggerate that movement a little bit. Just creating movement in your side body, letting yourself put all your weight into the hammock. This is a really great one if you're just not sure what you want to do, but you know you want to do some aero yoga today. Come to a Star Watcher. It's a great little stretch. It just, it feels great. Coming back to the center, we're going to heel toe our feet back to shoulder width apart. You can bring our hands onto the hammock if that feels good for you, or you can bring them out to the side. But we're going to come to a chair pose. So just bending our knees, should be around about a 90-degree angle. You can walk yourself forward so that you're underneath the rigging point. It will work a little bit better here. And from here, we can extend all the way forward, pushing into the hammock. You can extend your arms out to a T. So we're a nice long line from our feet to our head, gauging our abs. This is our floating mountain pose. If this hurts your arms a little bit too much, you can bring your hands onto the fabric. That can kind of alleviate that a little bit. Take a deep inhale, hands come back and sweep all the way back into our Star Watcher. Inhale and exhale here. And one more time, sweep all the way through, up into our floating mountain. Holding here for a moment. And let's come back all the way through. Nice. We're going to come to our chair pose. You can hold on to the hammock if you need a little bit of stability. Putting all of our weight into our right leg. And we're going to release our left foot up, and our ankle is over just above our right knee. So this is our figure 4 pose, our floating figure 4 pose. You can push into that knee if that feels good for you, if you want a little bit further of a hip opener here. And we can sway back and forth. I like to make my stretches a little bit more dynamic. I love moving and swaying with my poses. Just makes it a little bit more interesting, and it helps me to get a little bit further into each of the poses. So keeping that foot flexed, we're gauging both of the legs here. Oh yeah, you should be feeling this around our glutes and our hips. Keeping the abs engaged here. 2 more breaths. And releasing that foot to the ground. If that hurts your armpits a little bit too much, again, you can hold on to the fabric here. So releasing our right leg up and over, our right ankle onto just above our left knee. Releasing our right hand, and you'll push into that knee if that feels good for you. Just opening up that hip just a little bit more. And you can add the sway in if that feels good for you too. Few more breaths here. See if you can release a little bit further with each exhale. So this is a nice figure 4 pose that if you don't have your hammock with you, you can do this lying on your back as well. but you know, everything's a little bit more fun with the hammock. One more breath here. And releasing that foot to the ground. Hold on to the hammock and push ourselves all the way up to a standing. I'm going to take a few steps back. I'm going to just let ourselves hang one more time into our ragdoll. Just hanging out here, releasing the head, nodding and shaking your head, letting it all release. Thanking yourself for coming to the mat and to your hammock today. Coming back to the center, slowly roll ourselves up one vertebrae at a time till our head is the last thing that comes up. Thank you guys so much for coming to my little morning flow this morning, and I'll see you next time.